for all coming. Coach Paul Haynes, joined by junior guard Wayne Scott. I'll start with the opener.
Again, big week for us. It's Akron week. Guys are excited. It seems like, for some reason, it seems like long ago before we played our last game. But, we kind of, how we handle this week is we kind of practice early. So we kind of got after it in the last 3 days. And then we'll finish up here in the next 2 days. We'll let our guys go home for Thanksgiving after Wednesday. Kind of like we did last year. We kind of use the same schedule as we did last year. Kind of how we planned it. Actually, it was funny. I kind of talked with Coach Bowden on how they've done it in the past, because they've played on Fridays before, after Thanksgiving, and kind of had the idea of letting his kids go home, and I kind of thought that was a really good idea. When you think of Thanksgiving, you think of home. So we did that last year, so we're going to do the same thing this year. We'll practice up until Wednesday, like a Thursday for us. We'll let our kids go home. They'll be back Thursday night, around 7 o'clock, and then we'll spend it just like a Friday night, for us. So our guys right now, I think Wayne's going to Brock's.
Yes, sir, Brock
McCauley's house. So a lot of our guys will go over other players' house, and the guys that are left over will venture out to coaches' houses and have Thanksgiving meal at our houses, and then we'll get back into football mode Thursday night. So guys are looking forward to it. It's a big game. This is one of those games that you throw out all the records, you throw out all the stats, you throw out all the rest of it, and it, comes down after all the dust clears and the hypeness goes away, pregame and all that, is who executes the best. And that's what it usually boils down to. It's going to be a 60-minute game. It's going to be a long football game, so you got to control your emotions and don't be too high, don't be too low, because it goes back and forth just like last year's game. So those are the things that we got to make sure that we prepare for and don't get caught up in all the hoopla of just the rivalry.
But you mentioned that you throw all the stats out the window, but right now the odds makers currently have you as a 10.5-point underdog. Now, is that something that you use to maybe motivate your team, saying they don't respect us, or is that something you don't worry about at all?
Yeah, it's something that you don't worry about, because it really doesn't matter. Once the ball is kicked off, it really doesn't matter. This game, this isn't one of those type games that you have to motivate. If you got to motivate for this one, you're in trouble. So all of those little things have nothing to really do with trying to motivate the guys that, why wouldn't we be an underdog? Why wouldn't we be, a 10-point or whatever point? At this point, that's a given, So, but it really doesn't matter. It still comes down to the wagon wheel and the rivalry of the game.
You've had a lot of success in other places, and you won last year with these rivalry-type games, and you just kind of talked about some things that you stress. I mean, is that really kind of what you've learned is the key to these type of games, the things you just kind of mentioned, or is there some other things that you stress?
Yeah, these are, and again, I've been a part of a bunch of them, and that's really what it comes down to. It comes down to really two things: who wants it more, and the execution, of the game, because all the rest of it really is just kind of the mystique of the rivalry, I guess. And those things are fun. That's what makes college football fun. But it still comes down to who can control their emotions, and who goes out there and execute. And that's really what these games boil down to. You talk about all week, about what it means, and, both teams already know that going into it. Sometimes guys overplay it, that it's the world and the world's going to end if you lose it. Some guys downplay it to where it's just another game. So, again, depending on however you want to approach the week with your guys on whatever it means. But, in my experience with these, you got to control your emotions. It's going to be crazy in pregame. It's going to be crazy in the locker room. So you can't be too high, can't be too low on going out there, and you just got to do your job.
Coach, you just said that you've been involved with some other rivalries in the past. How does this one compare to some of those?
Again, it's always this is my heart here, at Kent State, and being able to put on this uniform and being involved in it as a player. You know, my days at Ohio State, Michigan was as a coach. It's totally different as a coach and a player. So I've been through this one, you know, more as a player and as a coach. So definitely this one means the most to me.
You mentioned as a player and a coach, you've been in this. Now, being now your third year as part of this rivalry as a coach, what are some of the biggest differences you have seen in your approach to this game from a player to a coach other than the obvious ones?
Yeah, I can't go out there and make tackles, you know, as a coach. You know, it's just you know, you go out there, it's just totally different. I mean, you know, as a player, you're preparing to go out there and, you know, actually play and make plays and do those things. As a coach, you're making sure that they're prepared, you know, to go out there and make those plays. So the emotion part of it is a little bit different just because you're not out there, you know, having, you know, that much of a chance to sit there and make plays like the players can, I guess, you know, as a player. But as far as in my heart on how much it means to me, there's really no difference.
When you talk about what this game as a player means to you guys and you in particular.
As a player, this game it means a lot to me. But also, how my coach said, I mean, you could take it one or two ways. It is another game. We still got to show up and execute our game plan. So I mean, it's pretty special. I mean, we're playing for the wagon where we have it, but it's actually like another game. We still got to go out there and execute.
Is it nice playing these guys? I mean, obviously, you wish this game had championship implications. It doesn't in this situation. It's nice to have these guys at the end of the schedule because obviously, you know, there's still a lot to play for no matter what your record is.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot to play for, but it's nice to have them at the end of the season, I guess. But we can have them in the middle, beginning, wherever they want to schedule. I mean, we still gonna line up and play against them, whatever time kickoff is. So.
These guys seem to be playing their best football.
Yeah.
Without a question at this point. Just kind of talk about what you see in them and how they've improved.
Yeah, they're kind of going on all cylinders. I think everyone went into the year and we knew how good their defense was going to be, and it all starts up front. They're man-childs up front, you know, in their defensive line. It's going to be tough, and it's been tough for a lot of teams to run the football on them. So we got to find creative ways to make sure that we can do that. And on offense, man, the last couple of weeks they've really kind of, you know, turned the corner and putting points on the board and moving the football. You know, throwing the football, you know, a little bit better than what they were doing at the beginning of the year. And I think it's setting up them running the football a little bit better. So it's not an offense that we haven't seen, you know, as far as structurally and scheme-wise on what they do. Spread you out to run the football, and they spread you out to get mixed matches, you know, in the pass game. And they take their shots when they have a chance to. So it's going to be a challenge. Anytime you run against a spread offense, it's going to be a challenge. They've ran the quarterback a little bit more also, too, and what they've done a little bit earlier, so that adds another dimension. You know, when they spread you out and you really got two running backs back there. So it looks like they've opened the playbook up a little bit more in the last couple of weeks, and it's been beneficial for them because they're putting on points.
They had their quarterback issues at the beginning of the season. It seemed like once they settled on one
Yeah.
and let him go, they've kind of grown with him, I guess.
Yeah, and like I said, you know, last couple of weeks, because, you know, we sit there and we watch every game, but, you know, we kind of concentrate on the later part of the season. You know, like I said, they're hitting on all cylinders on both sides of the football.
Coach, they're now a bowl-eligible team. Just tell me a little bit about that atmosphere that you expect to see Friday and what that adds to the game.
Yeah, I don't know if that adds anything. Like I said, I don't think you have to add anything to this game. You know, those are things that, of course, is going to be mentioned and talked about, but I don't think it's got to. You don't have to add anything to this game. This game is what it is. The atmosphere, I'm sure, is going to be electric. You know, anytime you go to any sporting event that Kent plays Akron, no matter what sport it is, it's going to be, you know, a great venue and a great atmosphere. So we expect a great atmosphere, and I'm sure it's going to be.
Jimmy mentioned that they're bowl eligible now. This was obviously a team that had won 3 games in 3 years, and now Terry Bowden has taken them 5-7, 5-7, and now they're bowl eligible. Just what do you have to say about the job he's done in rebuilding that program at Akron?
I think he's done a great job. I mean, I think you look at his history though, of him coaching. I got great respect for Coach Bowden, with not just what he's done at Akron, but his career. But you kind of expect that with them getting it done and him getting it done. And like I said, I got a bunch of respect for him.
Wayne, this offense, I mean, last week kind of a good example where you had a couple excellent drives and it just seemed like it go in the walls. Do you see the offense kind of clicking a little bit more as it comes, and you kind of see a big game coming here?
Well, this game could be a big game coming, but I mean, from an offensive standpoint, I mean, it's all about us just executing. We have to do a better job executing the game plan. The better we execute, the better the offense will be.
Coach, last week got down early. Just tell me a little bit about what you told the team. I know after the game you mentioned, the team's resilience, but tell me a little bit about what you told the team once they got down and how they responded.
Again, I believe because the first time you're getting them together is at halftime. And it was of course not what you expected. To be down 17-0 so fast, and really kind of the way that it happened really, really fast because we had the turnover on the kickoff and everything. But that's why they call it. That's why it's a 60-minute game. You just got to sit there and just kind of, don't get caught up in the emotion. It's really the hard part of it when you are not having success. It's easy to fold the tents and just go. But that's when you rely on your leadership. That's when you rely on your leadership and your players and your coaches to kind of take over and just take it one play at a time and get yourself back in the game. As fast as they score 17, we can score 17 just as fast if we sit there and we execute. So it's no panic button. You can't push the panic button at that point in time when it happens that early because there's a lot of football to still play.
You got a young offense and you played 2 different quarterbacks. Who stepped up ultimately in those situations?
Yeah, I think both of those guys do a good job, and that's something that we're going to continue to do, in this game. Be prepared to see both of them in this game also too. I think both of them are similar. I think both of them deserve to play, and that's really more than anything than this guy does this better and this guy. They both practice well. They both deserve to play, and we're going to play both of them. Now down the stretch, whoever's playing in the game probably better will stay in there and go, but both of them deserve to play, so both of them will play.
Will George start?
At this point, yeah, George will probably start.
All that being said, offensive starts have been shaky, obviously, for a period of time.
Yeah.
I mean, you changing anything up coming into this one, and what do you do to
Nah,
get that going?
I'm sorry. I think we're just focusing on it a little bit more, but really, honestly, it's been both sides of the ball that's been a little bit shaky on the start of the games. So, really, kind of what we did in practice. And here's the one thing I've always in my experience of coaching: you sit there and you concentrate on starting fast, and then you don't, and then it backfires on you. That's all you talked about, coach, was starting fast, and you don't. Now what do we do? So it's not where you're talking about it a bunch, but you are addressing it because it is an issue. So we did change practice up a little bit more, that we start with team periods a little bit earlier, just to sit there and not have, 5 periods of individual and then go into teams a little bit later after you relax. So we did that a little bit more this week, of getting out there and going with team periods a little bit earlier, just so we can, kind of recognize that we got to get out there and we got to start a little bit faster. And starting faster is executing better. And I know I use that word, and you can tell I use that word because I got Wayne saying that word a bunch. But it's so important. That's what it really boils down to, is just going out there and executing. And when we don't, that's the things that are happening. So that's what we mean by starting fast, is let's make sure we go out there and execute, a little bit better. So it's the focus, it's the concentration, those are the things that we've really spent a lot of time on talking about this week.
Are you one of the staffs that kind of scripts play coming in, or you just kind of see what happens?
Yeah, we kind of see what happens a little bit. I think, we have an idea of what we want to do, early in the game. But, again, it just kind of these last couple of weeks has been changing, just dictating on what is happening to us.
Coach, you mentioned before that if I get the saying correct, the best defense is the one on the sidelines. You struggled with time of possession last week. How do you hope to get that back in your favor?
Yeah, we struggle with time of possession more because of our defense than our offense. And I'll say this, we probably had our best production offensively than we had all year as far as moving the ball. Now, we tripped ourselves up with turnovers, but as far as moving the ball, but we only had 58 plays. And if you to the 60, 70-point range, I think it would have been a different, football game. And that goes on our defense. We couldn't get off the field. So we got to eliminate the turnovers. We got to eliminate the penalties offensively, because we'll have drives and we stub our toe, and it's nothing that our opponent is doing. We're doing it to ourselves a little bit. So those are the things we got to do offensively. And then defensively, we got to have more 3-and-outs. We got to get off the field.
What do you see as the difference in the last couple weeks defensively? What aren't you doing that you were doing?
You can probably answer this for me, but again, it just goes back to execution. When Terrence is out, you got a new guy in there. Cunningham goes down, you got a new guy in there. So you're battling with some new guys a little bit, but it's been weird because we were kind of out of character a little bit last week with some mistakes, and we kind of scratched our head with some of the guys because it's some of our smarter guys. So we went back, and again, anytime that you got 3.6 guys screwing up, we didn't do a very good job of coaching it, or we got too much. So you go back and you simplify, with what you're doing. So that's what we sat there and we kind of did defensively, because the first series of the game, man, we had 3 or 4 MAs, which is kind of unheard of. And it was from guys who don't make mistakes, So always as a coach, you go back and you look at not, you don't point the finger at them because there was a reason on why they were making that mistakes. They didn't understand it. So you go back and you look at yourself as a coach on, man, what are we not explaining the right way, or do we have too much that we got to simplify?
Coaches, are you looking to open up the pass game more Friday? I know that
Will we complete it? Depends on if we're completing the passes. It's interesting. You sit there and you listen to coaches, talk. There's a thing about throwing the football and connecting. Everybody throws, but it's all about throwing and catching. That's a little bit boring. We're a balanced type team. I'm a balanced type guy. I won't, you won't see us out there, running, shooting, and throwing the ball and tossing the ball all over the place. We will have to sit there and control the clock. We got to sit there and do what we do that we feel that we do best to sit there and win the game. Now, if that's throwing more, if they're giving us stuff, then it's throwing more. And if it's running, but we are a balanced offense that we go into the game trying to be balanced as much as possible.
How are you health-wise? Some of the guys that weren't able to go or got injured that last.
As of right now, they're trying, but I don't know if they'll be available, for us. So, I'm sure they're coming off of a short week, so I don't know, how they are, injury-wise. Everybody's banged up a little bit, but Terrence is trying a little bit, but we'll see. This is a game that everybody wants to sit there and get back and play. So I sat there and told him, do everything you possibly can. If you give us 5 plays, you give us 5 great plays. You give us 10 plays, you give us 10 great plays. So expecting him to be in there, but don't know how much, those guys will be back for us.
How about Najee?
He should be good.
All right. That's all. Thanks,
You guys good?
yeah.
You we're good. You can ask some more questions. It's kind of flowing a little bit. You good, Alex?